proud partnership. SMU's players with Sean Griswold. That is certainly one of those key pieces when SMU brings players, whether it be high school recruits, whether it be transfers onto campus. I hear the expression a lot: "Get them with Grizz." We can't wait to get them with Grizz. And for a large part of SMU's run under Rhett Lashley, they have finished so well. And there is a new challenge, no doubt, for Sean Griswold, and that's having these guys ready to go for a game one that is a conference game. Rhett Lashley was on ACC Network talking about that earlier this week, and just what it gives the guys as far as extra juice to get going for that Labor Day night game against FSU in again, just before you know it. And with that, you're seeing a lot of the early goings of those workouts. You're seeing some of the newcomers, whether they be high school enrollees, whether they be new additions from the transfer portal. They're getting with Grizz and they're developing their plan for the offseason. They're taking a look at, okay, here's where your body's at. Here's where we need you to get so that you're like a vehicle. It's a very easy comparison to make and kind of connection there, where you're trying to get them revved up, ready to go for the season, and also be able to withstand the beatings of a college football season. And that is the number one thing that we're going to be watching over these next several months ahead of fall camp is, what does Sean Griswold do with some of these players on SMU's team that have come into the program and need to add weight or need to add this or that to their repertoire to be the most successful player they can be. Like you look at what SMU got in terms of a Kendrick Raphael, and his explosiveness and ability to tote the rock at the ACC level. How does Sean Griswold work with somebody like that who's been through the grind of an ACC season, but at the same time, wants to reach his next level? He wants to get to that 1,000-yard season. He wants to be a little bit more explosive in the run game. He's certainly got it down in that ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and do some of those fun things. But what does he do to, get him ready for that final curtain call and being ready to be the man back there with Kevin Jennings at the quarterback position in that backfield? Kendrick Raphael is going to be the main focal point of this running attack. Dramico Green, we know the expectations that are there for him long term. We know that he is now stepping into a spot where he can be that number two back, that very clear cut number two back. And as you look at what Chunky, as they call him, has done over the course of his not even a year yet on SMU's campus, and how he's dealt with some adversity, whether it be an injury late in fall camp or the death of a family member during the season, he's now got a clear path where he can chase something, and he knows he's got an opportunity to go and get it. And you see him have this full off season. I think when we see Dramico Green, and just kind of looking through, and believe it or not, I don't do a great job of categorizing all of my pictures from our great friend Matt Visinski through the course of a season. I probably get about half of them labeled and we end up using them. But in the offseason, I like to kind of clean them up, make sure they all are labeled. But I already noticed a couple of Chunky. I'm like, just thinking about where he's going to be come spring ball. How much more weight are they going to put on him? And then you fast forward that after we see whatever that looks like in the spring. And is this going to be that 220, 225 pound back that SMU envisions, having that explosiveness that he showed in the bowl game? You guys got a chance to see it in some limited carries, and he should have gotten more, but that's a different story. He really has that ability to carry that weight well because he's long, he's got a great frame. And I think that's something that, when you look at probably one of the biggest offseason goals for Sean Griswold and this staff, is getting somebody like Dramico Green revved up and ready to go from a pure body makeup, right? Like having the weight to withstand the punishment, being a little bit more physically imposing from a strength perspective. Those are all things that you balance, making sure he's got the explosiveness that he needs to, again, carry the rock as many times as SMU needs him to, whether that ends up being a feature role if they don't have Kendrick Raphael for some reason, or whether it's hey, he's the hot hand, let's keep riding him, and we need him. And that's kind of where I think that's the next step for Dramico Green, is getting ready for that, because it is probably a shock to the system when you're looking at, and SMU did a good job of this at times this year, where they were able to string together some 9, 10, 11 play drives. Well, if you're out there and you're that guy that SMU's leaning on, especially with the way the running back room is set up right now, you're looking at a more of a physically beat down that is going to be there, whether it be pass protection, whether it be running the football. Those are all things that players have to be wary of in the offseason and preparing for. And that's something that Sean Griswold and his staff are working towards with Chunky. So they'll get the freshman later this summer. So that's another conversation. And Derek McFall is going to play, slot. He's going to play running back. He's going to kind of do a bunch of different things. But this two-headed monster of Kendrick Raphael and Dramico Green, they've got to be revved up and ready to go. And spring is also important for them, because on one hand, you have one guy who's got to be learning the playbook and earning his reps. Another one, just continue to pick up where he left off as far as learning the playbook and doing all of those things. But you want him to get that live action behind this offensive line that is going to feature a couple of new faces. And the thumbnail on this video, if you clicked on it on YouTube, in all likelihood, the full podcast at least, PJ Williams. PJ Williams is a prime example of following a plan that this staff had in place for him when they brought him in. And he was somebody that you completely looked at and you said, okay, this is kind of a flyer, former top 100 guy who kind of ran into, some troubles at A&M. Now he is, I'm really excited to see what PJ looks like going into this final year, because the funny thing about PJ is he's, first of all, great guy, great young man now. And so you get like a little bit of that charm. And so you don't always think of him as this like absolutely imposing figure because he is so nice. But you have somebody who is going to be very much in the NFL draft conversation. And so it's imperative that all of the things that SMU can do to have him ready to go from a physical perspective and making sure he's healthy this year is really important. And I think he kind of gutted it out at times during the course of the season through different things, like a lot of the offensive linemen did for SMU. But with so much change on the left side of the offensive line, it is really important that he is ready to go. And he is that kind of focal point of what the SMU strength and conditioning program looks like. Like when people look up and they say, oh, wow, what are the success stories? That's a guy that you immediately point to in the trenches, and especially on the offensive line. You say, man, PJ's one that's gotten it done. Look at how he looks, because he has one of those bodies that is so, I think, physically impressive that, I mean, he kind of, if you're looking for a comp, and I know Trent Williams is a left tackle, but I kind of see a little bit of Trent Williams and PJ Williams. Like he doesn't always look like he's carrying all this weight, but he is. And so SMU forming that up into something that's even more impressive, I think, is one just minor thing that I'm watching for in this offseason is what level of PJ Williams we see, because SMU got a really good one this year. I think he's only going to be even better next year for the Mustangs, and he's going to have to anchor that offensive line